Welcome to this video. Let's have a yarn about autism, an introduction. Over the last few years, our family's become fairly well versed in what autism actually is, with our kids and myself being diagnosed. But I've also come to learn that not only do people who aren't particularly or overtly affected by autism not have much idea of what it actually is, but there are actually quite a number of parents and caregivers who are just told, oh, your kid's autistic, without actually being given the tools and the understanding to know what it is that actually means. So this is just going to be a very brief video with a very short explanation as to what autism actually is. So, what is autism? Well, autism is a lifelong developmental neurological difference that affects how a person communicates with and relates to other people, and how they experience the world around them. From a biological point of view, an autistic person's brain has actually developed differently to a neurotypical person's brain. And I use the terms neurotypical and neurodiverse often because it's the best way of describing it. So the neurotypical person is a person whose brain has actually developed typically. The neural pathways have formed in a way that you would expect, and they all connect to each other in the right way. A neurodiverse person has neural pathways that are formed in a different way. Not necessarily worse or better, just different. But because it's not the typical brain, they are called neurodiverse as opposed to neurotypical. So, because the neurons are formed differently in the brain, it gives an autistic person different neurological emphases from those in neurotypical people. Recent research suggests that not only are pathways formed differently, but there are in fact a lot more of them, giving rise to confusion in the way that neural messages are processed. Consequently, autistic people often have strengths and challenges different from neurotypical people in the receiving, processing, and expression of information. And these strengths and challenges, as with all people, differ not just from person to person, but from situation to situation. As you can see in this oversimplified diagram here, a neurotypical brain might have, for example, these three pathways that are strong in their connection. Whereas if you look at the autistic brain, although those pathways are still there, they're a lot weaker. They're not nearly as strong in their connection. And not only that, but there are lots of other little pathways spinning off, which means that the messages getting through in that part of the brain can get confused or lost. On a personal note, although the word disorder is integral to its formal name of autism spectrum disorder, I would ask that you be cautious in using it, as a lot of autistic people don't view themselves as having a condition or a disorder, but rather that autism is integral to the person that they are, and thus they are an autistic person, not a person with autism. I know that I would not be who I am if I wasn't autistic. I would still be me if you took away my chronic illnesses, but I wouldn't be me if I hadn't processed information and perceived this world in the way that I have over the last 40-odd years. Autistic people have a unique way of seeing and interacting with our world, and it is these unique perspectives that have brought about a lot of innovations in all areas of our society, from art to science to technology, and our world would be a very different place if it wasn't for autistic people throughout history. Rather than trying to cure or treat autistic people, a great deal more can be accomplished by supporting autistics in overcoming the challenges they face in dealing with the world and encouraging them in those areas that they excel at and or bring new perspective to. And yes, the medical profession and society in general likes to label autism in different levels or categories, and I understand that to an extent. However, it can also lead to an awful lot of misunderstanding. Just because someone is non-verbal doesn't mean they're stupid or can't understand or don't have anything to contribute, yet that is assumed all too readily. Similarly, just because I'm verbal and articulate doesn't mean that I can process everything that's going on all the time. For example, in unfamiliar or noisy settings. It's good to remember that mild autism doesn't mean one experiences autism mildly. It means you experience their autism mildly. You may not know how hard they've had to work to get to the level they are. Some of the main challenges that autistic people struggle with include anxiety, executive function, social interactions, and sleep. However, the challenges of an autistic person don't affect that person alone. They affect caregivers, siblings, other family members and friends also. It is important that the impact on all of these people is recognised and that they are supported. In the next video, I will provide an illustration that will show you the importance of building connection and relationship with the autistic person in your life. In the comments below, I'll leave a couple of links and resources for you to look at further if you wish to do so. And please feel free to leave comments or feedback or suggestions or ask questions in the comments below, being mindful to be respectful of the other people on this journey with us. I'll see you in the next video.